to the channel if you're new. It is fall, which means for many of us, it is the season of soups. Or at least it's cool enough to actually want to eat soup. To get in the comforting food mood, I have compiled a variety of soups for you today, all colorful and nutritious. And I've included a free ebook for you to get all of the recipes using the link in the description box. First up, a roasted purple soup. I start by adding quartered purple potatoes, purple cauliflower florets, and chopped purple carrots to a baking sheet and tossing with oil and salt. Roast until tender. This roasting is what's going to give the soup so much flavor. In a pot, I add oil and onion and cook until tender. Then I can add in those roasted veggies, vegetable broth, and bring to a boil. Reduce to a simmer and cook for about 15 minutes. Then we add it to a blender with a little almond milk and salt and pep. You can also use an immersion blender if preferred. Holy moly, it is so creamy, thick, and satisfying, especially with a little bacon and cheddar on top, and talk about colorful. In case you didn't know, purple potatoes and cauliflower taste about the same as white, but have some additional nutrients and flavonoid compounds called anthocyanins, which can help regulate blood lipid and sugar levels, body weight, and reduce cancer risk. Pretty cool. Next up, a slow cooker lamb and lentil curry. This one is also from my sheet pan and slow cooker ebook, which is awesome for meal prep. If you do want to prep in advance, simply add everything to a large freezer bag. Ground lamb, lentils, crushed tomatoes, cauliflower florets, frozen peas, onion, coconut milk, and garlic. Then I've got a ton of delicious spices. Garlic powder, onion powder, garam masala, curry powder, paprika, chili powder, turmeric, ginger powder, and last but not least, salt and pep. I remove as much air from the bag as possible, seal it up, and then refrigerate until I'm ready to cook. Or you could also freeze to use later on. On the day I want to eat my soup, I just pour in my prepped ingredients straight into the slow cooker in the morning, mash up all the meat a bit so that there's no large chunks, and add some vegetable broth. Then I give everything a good mix, cover the slow cooker, and set it to cook slow and low. Of course, you could skip the initial step of adding everything to the freezer bag if you prefer and just toss everything right into your slow cooker. Some people like to brown their meat in a pan before adding it to the slow cooker, and this can totally add extra flavor to the dish, but it's not necessary. After cooking at low heat for 8 whole hours, the lamb is perfectly cooked through and so unbelievably tender. About 30 minutes before I want to eat my soup, I like to add an entire bag of spinach to the slow cooker. Trust me, it will look like a lot of leaves at first, but you won't even notice them once they've wilted down and soaked up all of the scrumptious, savory flavors in this dish. This soup smells so incredible, and it tastes even better. It's hearty, filling, and loaded with nutritious veggies, protein, and complex carbs. And there's even some healthy fats from the creamy coconut milk. Next, a sweet fennel soup. I add oil and shallots to a large pot and cook until tender, about 5 to 8 minutes. Then I add apple, fennel, and cauliflower and cook for about 5 minutes to soften. Add vegetable broth, bring to a boil, and then turn down to a simmer for 30 minutes. I like this creamy, so I'm blending it up with almond milk, thyme, and salt and pep. There's not a wrong way to do soup, so if you like it chunky, don't blend for quite as long, or you can use an immersion blender. Make this your own. The sweet apple complements the almost perfumey fennel so well. It's light, creamy, and totally comforting without being too heavy. I am not usually a fennel person, but this was actually one of my favorite recipes of the batch. We are getting greener with this broccoli soup, and you only need 2 main ingredients. First, I simply add broccoli and salt to a pot with water and boil until fork tender. Then I remove the broccoli with a slotted spoon, transfer to a blender, and add my white beans. You could use a different kind of bean if you like, but I chose white beans because they're nice and creamy and keep my soup light in color. I also take a bit of the green water that's left after boiling my broccoli and add that to the blender as well, enough to cover the broccoli about halfway. This will keep my soup smooth and it adds some extra flavor. I season to taste with salt and pep. You could also use any additional seasonings that you like and blend until it's perfectly creamy. And that is it. Can it get any easier? Enjoy this nutritious green soup immediately, store in the fridge for later, or portion and freeze. Such a simple recipe for meal prep or a weeknight dinner, and a great way to get in more veggies. This recipe is also from my new 100+ vegan recipes ebook, and so is this next recipe. We're heading back to sweeter flavors with this vegan sweet potato coconut curry lentil soup. For this soup, I'm starting out by roasting some sweet potato cubes with coconut oil, salt, pepper, and paprika. This will get them nice and tender, but it also packs loads of comforting roasty flavor into my soup. While that's in the oven, I cook my lentils on the stove according to package directions. I chose green lentils, but you can use whichever you like. Let them cook all the way through and set them aside when they're done. Finally, to a saucepan over medium heat, I add ghee or clarified butter, onion, celery, and carrot, and cook until the onions begin to sweat. Then add in some garlic, fresh ginger, curry powder, cayenne if you want the kick of heat in your soup, and salt. Cook for another minute before adding your roast sweet potato along with some coconut milk. Bring the entire mixture to a boil, turn the heat down, and let it simmer for around 20 to 25 minutes. You could totally enjoy this as a chunky soup and leave it as is, but I am all about the creamy soups. So I grab my immersion blender and blend it on up. A regular blender is totally fine too, of course. Then all that's left to do is stir in my cooked lentils. And I like to top it off with cilantro and a bit of plain yogurt. Coconut and sweet potato are a classic pairing, and I love a thick, creamy soup. This recipe is hearty enough to enjoy as a meal all on its own. We're getting the slow cooker out again with this Tuscan chicken soup, another meal prep fave. To prep this slow cooker soup in advance, I grab my freezer-safe bag and add chicken thighs, drained and quartered canned artichokes, fire-roasted tomatoes, white beans, sliced mushrooms, onion, lemon juice, white wine, broth, garlic, ghee, grass-fed butter or light olive oil, capers, thyme, salt, and pepper. Again, seal up your bag, removing as much air as possible, and store in the fridge or freezer. When you're ready to cook, pour your prepped bag of ingredients into the slow cooker, cover, and let it go. You can of course dump everything in there instead of prepping too. 30 minutes before cooking is done, I like to add a hearty helping of spinach to the soup as well. Stir it in, cover, and let it wilt down. Slow cooking over low heat brings out all of the savory, comforting flavors in this dish, and using chicken thighs packs even more flavor into your soup because of their rich fat content. It's creamy, satisfying, and sure to fill you up. But the combination of white wine, lemon juice, and fresh herbs keeps this dinner deliciously light and refreshing. All of the yumminess of a classic Tuscan chicken dish, but the slow cooker does all of the work for you. Here's another one of my vegan favorites, jackfruit tortilla soup. I start with canned jackfruit. The actual fruit is massive and pretty tricky to handle, so I prefer to get jackfruit canned in brine, which I found at Trader Joe's. I recommend draining and rinsing canned jackfruit to get rid of the briny taste, and then I simply shred the pieces with 2 forks to get that pulled meat texture. To make my soup, I add a bit of oil to a saucepan with onion and garlic and saute until tender. Then I add chopped jalapeno and cook for another 1 to 2 minutes. Once that is nice and fragrant, I add tomato puree, fresh lime juice, chili powder, paprika, cumin, and oregano, and cook until bubbly. Finally, I add some broth and my pulled jackfruit, seasoning to taste. Bring your soup to a boil and then turn down the heat to low and simmer for about 20 minutes. The last component of this tortilla soup is, of course, the tortilla strips. These are so easy to whip up at home. Just cut corn tortillas into thin strips about 1/4 inch wide, add to a wire baking rack, spray it with cooking spray, and season with a bit of salt and pepper. Let those bake in the oven until crispy and beginning to brown, and you've got a craveably crunchy topping for your soup. When I'm ready to serve, I put a handful of baked tortilla strips in the bottom of the bowl, pour in my jackfruit soup, and top with some fresh avocado and extra tortilla strips. This soup is so tasty and satisfying, the perfect way to warm up on a cold day. The jackfruit adds some bulk and has loads of satiating fiber, and I love how every bite is bursting with flavor after simmering with all of those seasonings. Okay, one more to go, and it's comfort soup at its finest, chicken noodle soup. I add oil, onion, garlic, carrots, and celery to a large pot and cook until tender. Then I add basil, oregano, a bay leaf, salt and pep, and broth. Bring to a boil and then cover and simmer for 6 to 8 minutes. Get rid of that bay leaf and then add egg noodles and cover and simmer for another 8 minutes. You could use any noodles, I just love the taste and shape of the egg noodles in this soup. Once the noodles are cooked al dente, I stir in some chopped chicken, which I use from leftover rotisserie chicken meat. Holy moly! This is hearty but light with so many great flavors and textures. It's got that nostalgic chicken noodle feel and taste without all of the sodium the store-bought varieties tend to have. I know you're gonna love it. And that is my compilation of soups for fall inspiration. Let me know which is your favorite in the comments, and remember, all of the recipes are in the free ebook available to download in the description of the video. Thanks so much for watching. I've got more fall and holiday content coming. I will see you next week, and remember, it's all a matter of mind over munch.